The guitar show with
Bob,
Ramon and Bob.
Yes.
He's been active. I'm back. Hope you've missed me. Don't throw the eggs and tomatoes now. I've been away, and as you're about to hear, I've been busy.
What's that thing you're wearing around your neck, Bob?
That's a lanyard, Ramon. This is a lanyard from Eric Claptons Crossroads, September 2019 in Dallas.
So that's where you were. I was wondering where you were.
That's where I've been, and
right,
it says
okay.
talent.
Okay, we'll do
but that does not refer to me.
No, I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. So yeah, so Bob, you've been away. Where have you actually been the last couple of weeks?
So I've been back about a week, but before that I was in Dallas for a week, Monday through Sunday.
Right.
At the Crossroads Festival, Eric Claptons Crossroads Festival. You probably know that a few years ago Eric Clapton sunk a lot of his wealth into founding a rehab clinic called Crossroads on Antigua. It's a very successful rehab clinic. I think they showed a slide during this event, and I think that they've rehabilitated 657 people.
It's amazing.
From alcohol and drug dependency at this place. And obviously this place costs a ton to run. It's entirely funded by charitable donations and his contributions, and so every few years he hosts this festival of some of the greatest guitar players on the planet for a couple of days, and charges a sticking amount of money for tickets, sells a lot of tickets, and makes a packet of money which supports the rehab unit.
And are these people in the rehab, are they musicians or anybody?
Ordinary people, and typically they're people who can't afford to go to, because it must cost, I don't know what it costs, I've never been in recovery, but it probably costs an arm and a leg in anybody's money to go to the Betty Ford or the Priory or something like that.
Yes.
This is for regular people, ordinary working people who can't afford it.
Wow. So when did you, what was it like arriving there? What was the purpose? What was the reason you were there?
Well, maybe the best place to start is what was my meal ticket.
Yeah.
How did I get there? Because I didn't buy a ticket and just go over there like a punter. I didn't do that. There were quite a lot of English people there, actually, wealthier ones. No. The reason I was there is that I was guitar technician to one of the artists who was performing. And I was going to be a bit coy and spare his blushes, but actually when I tell you who he played with, you can work out who he was anyway, so I'll tell you who it was. I was acting as a guitar tech and general kind of gopher and dog's body and helping hand to my good friend Alan Darby, who played in Eric Clapton's band for quite a while back in the 90s. And has obviously, as well, he's had an illustrious career on his own. I mean, he played with Van Morrison, he played with Robert Palmer as well, he played with Bonnie Tyler, he's been a session player in London for many years, doing recording sessions and add jingles and stuff like that. He was one of the two principal guitarists in the Queen We Will Rock You stage show for its entire duration.
Was that with Phil Hilborn?
Well, so actually the other principal guitarist was Laurie Weisfield.
Right.
Phil sometimes stood in, but I think Phil played
the tours.
Phil played it in a pit in the German version.
Right.
And I think he sat in occasionally as a demo.
He looks a bit German, doesn't he, with his long hair and his whiskers?
A bit gothic.
Yeah.
Hello, Phil. I mean,
yeah. No, Phil's an amazing player.
And I've got to know Phil through this connection as well. So I mean, hello, Phil, if you're watching.
And American viewers, check out Phil Hilborn because he is a great player.
And if you get lucky, watch him playing. He has, as you know from previous videos, I'm not the greatest PRS fan, but he has got the most striking PRS guitar in the world.
Pink one, isn't it?
It's bright pink and very flaming.
Nice because it's white, isn't it? It's white back and
it's flat powder pink on the back.
Oh really?
It's flat powder pink and it's deep flame on the front. It's a spectacular guitar.
So we digress.
Right, we digress. Thank you, Phil. So that was the reason that I went out there. So I was part of the crew. So I spent Monday we travelled, Tuesday we had a rest day. Wednesday we had a production rehearsal in a movie studio. Biggest rehearsal room I've ever been in.
Wow.
Luxurious. Met the guys, met the band, met all the technical crew. Started doing my work, setting up amps, getting everything sorted out, getting things tuned, getting things restrung, doing what you do as a tech. But that was the easy day because that was under controlled conditions. Then on the Wednesday, that was the Wednesday. On the Thursday we moved to the arena and set up and start doing line checks and sound checks. And then obviously all the other artists that are performing are beginning to arrive and do their line checks and sound checks as well. So that was great, met lots of interesting people, finished our work and putting all the gear back to bed, backstage, ready for use, about 8 o'clock at night, and there was an amazing rumble. Different great musicians were coming on the sound checking. You know, we'd had Sonny Landreth, we'd had fantastic players. We had Eric obviously in his band. But there was this kind of, like two, chords, and then there was just like a couple of notes, and everybody in the corridor just turned round. What was that? And of course, there's only one person in the world who can do that.
JB.
And that's Mr. Jeff Beck. And so having put my gear to bed, all I had to do that evening was go back to the hotel and chill. So I went out into the stalls. There were 5 of us sitting in the stalls, about 15 feet away, watching Jeff Beck and Vinnie Colaiuta and the rest of their band sound checking, and it was religious. The sound that Jeff Beck and Vinnie Colaiuta make by themselves, it's more like earthworks than music. It's so enormous and so dense and complicated and huge and dynamic. I mean, they go from a tickle and a whisper to this boom in seconds. They accelerate and decelerate. It's when you're that close to watching it inside it, it's unimaginably brilliant.
Cool. So Bob, let's talk about Eric Clapton, the main man. I mean, what was it like to hang out? What is he like as a person?
Well, the first thing I've said, I've spent quite a lot of time in the same space as Eric Clapton. I've spent very little time actually one-on-one talking to him because he had a job to do and he was busy, and I was just a tech. But I did spend a little bit of time talking to him on a couple of occasions. The first was when we had some guitars around our hands, and Gibson have just launched, to coincide with Crossroads, they've launched a limited edition Firebird 1. So that's the reverse original Firebird shape, single mini humbucking pickup with no screws, wraparound bridge. So that's also the guitar that Alan Darby plays as his favourite guitar by choice. It's a guitar I love playing as well. I love my single pickup guitars.
I've got to say, if you can check out some YouTube clips of Alan Darby, he's a really cool player.
He's a fabulous player.
And I love the tone he gets from his Firebird, because he just literally plays pretty much the Firebird, right?
Firebird, cable, amps.
And just one pickup, one Firebird,
It's all the volume control,
yeah.
Tone rolled back a little bit. Anyway, there were these Firebirds, and we had a number of the production prototypes in our hands. We had Eric's, we had Doyle Bramhall's, we had Alan's, and we had also Alan's original Firebird 1 from '64, which is about the cleanest I've ever seen, and it's a magic guitar. And then we had a 2012 Historic belonging to Alan, and we had my 2012 Historic, which we took over because we had it set up for slide. So we had lots of Firebirds, and Eric was very keen to know how good a job Gibson had done of creating this limited edition, and by holding all these different Firebirds together, we concluded that Alan's original 64's neck was a little skinnier, that the reissues were very, very slightly fatter but not much, and the later Historics were much too big. I mean, they're great guitars and they sound fantastic with these enormous necks, but they're not authentic. So we concluded that actually Gibson had done a bloody first-rate job on this reissue.
Is Eric still a fan of Firebirds, do you think?
No, I mean, I haven't seen him playing one for a long time. Viewers should check out, if you go onto YouTube and you type in something like Clapton Dallas sitting on top of the world, there's a piece of audio from about 1968 when Cream played America, one of their tours. And for my money, it's one of the most exciting pieces of electric guitar playing I've ever heard. It is uplifting, it's exhilarating. The recording isn't great, there's a couple of fluffs in the middle, glitches in the recording in the middle, but it's electrifying. It makes my hair stand on end, it's fantastic. And I don't think, I mean, that and the Beano album, really, I think that defines Eric Clapton for me as a fiery player.
Was he playing a few licks though on this new Firebird?
Yeah, but we were holding guitars acoustic, we weren't even plugged in.
Right.
So we were literally, noodling.
And was he noodling?
Yeah, we were all noodling together, yeah.
And he liked it?
And I think he was inclined to like it, but I think maybe by having them to compare,
right.
I think he was looking for a bit of reassurance, and I think we got it in big time.
Yeah.
I think Gibson have done a great job.
Right.
I think they're going to be quite expensive, and they're probably not going to be very easy to get because there's only 100 made, 5 are prototypes. That leaves 95 for the public.
Right.
Probably going to be a £5,000 guitar. I don't know. It's
maybe even more.
Maybe. Yeah. It comes with all the case candy and a swanky brown big coffin Firebird case and stuff. A certificate of authenticity, blah blah. But it's a nice guitar. Anyway, that was the first thing. And the second thing, we just had 5 minutes or so just talking about each other, getting to know each other off stage in the room. And then the odd, meeting in the corridor. Hi, how are you doing? Everything going well? But that was it. We haven't spent quality time together. We're not best friends.
But you had some downtime with him. And
he was utterly charming to me. He was generous with his time.
Nice guy.
Very, very nice man. And obviously, difficult for me because I've wanted to meet him for 50 years, 45 years. I mean,
it's probably like if you met Prince Charles, it wouldn't be as. Meeting Eric Clapton kind of tops everything, right?
Well, if you're a guitar player.
Yeah. I mean, Jimi Hendrix is gone.
If you're a guitar player and you fancy yourself playing a bit of blues, I mean,
he's a man,
where else is there to go?
Because we're the guitar show here, Bob. Tell us about the gear. What was his gear? What pedals? What amps?
Right. So Eric's rig is very, very simple. He plays a Strat. It's a modern custom shop Strat. So got the mid boost in it, like all the Clapton guitars have. He was packing 3. He had the pewter grey one, which is his standard signature one, and he had a dark one. I can't remember whether it was dark blue or dark green or black, but it was very dark. And then he had this new guitar that had just been delivered to him, which has been painted by the guy who did all his painted ones, a guy called Crash, who's a New York graffiti artist.
Yeah.
And this guitar he had, in fact I've got a little model of it, just over there, we got given models. It's kind of yellow and turquoise and red, and also it's got a very, very pale neck.
So we'll do a close-up of this.
I'm not sure if you can see that. We'll do a close-up in the middle, but that is not real sized. His fingers are bigger than that. Okay.
So you were given this as all the artists that performed and the crew were given one of these. Right?
Yeah. The artists were actually given a bunch of candy, and including several of these. And so at my little stipend, I got a couple of these.
Wow.
So being a sad collector geek and having grown up in the days of Matchbox toys, when if you don't take them out of the box, they're worth a fortune later. So I've got one of these that's out of the box in its stand, sitting in my guitar room, and I've got one where I haven't opened the box.
Because I mean,
doing a Nigel Tufnell, you don't even look at it,
But I mean, Clapton was actually he went to art college, didn't he? So you can see why.
Yes.
I think he's always been into art and some abstract art and. So,
and this guitar, in the flesh, full size, around his neck on stage, it did look particularly spectacular. So he played one guitar for the entire duration, although he had 2 spares. He had a cable going into a wah pedal, probably a Crybaby, didn't look anything different.
Right.
And then straight into a single 3x10 Fender Bandmaster, modern Tweed Bandmaster.
So it's a modern amp, like a reissue.
Reissue. Bandmaster, which is 3x10.
Yeah, but with something as a special mod, right?
But if you see Clapton play, he has 2 of these Tweed amps back to back. Right. There's one behind. The one behind doesn't do anything. It's a spare. That's all it is. Right. It's not. There's not some jiggery pokery stereo trickery.
So he's playing for one amp.
It's one guitar, one cable, one amp, and a wah pedal. Right. The only other digression is that he's got a foot switch on stage, and that foot switch reroutes part of his signal into an old-fashioned mahogany vertical Leslie cab. So that's the one. And that's the gear. Now the only other thing to say is that these bandmasters, they have got one thing that is different about them, and that is that they both came out of the Fender factory and they both got modified somehow, don't know how, by Mr. Dumble.
Dr. D.
Dr. D.
Dr.
So
D.
they are Dumble modified.
Can I step in here?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure from my sources that they've actually been gutted, so everything inside the amp is gone.
Well,
and completely rebuilt.
It could be. You couldn't see inside them. I mean, from outside they just look like a new Fender reissue tweed combo.
It's the same as Kenny Wayne Shepherd. It's got the same deal.
Has he?
Yeah, his amps. I mean, you can hear him on there. I think there's a really good video of him recently, and he said the same thing. His amps were gutted, and a brand new circuit is inside.
Fantastic.
So they don't even keep the transformers.
So anyway, that's that. But interestingly, you're picking up that part, using the Leslie to play bands. Maybe that's a good segue into his other guitarist, long-standing guitarist, is Doyle Bramhall II.
Great player.
And Doyle was playing a couple of semis. He was playing, one of them was a Collins, so kind of like a slightly shrunk 335. But of course, Doyle plays right-handed guitars, left-handed, upside down. So the top strings, he's pulling down into the neck. It's all back to front. And that gives him a really interesting phrasing and slightly different rhythmic take. So he weaves beautifully with Eric. And he was playing his two-rock, which I think it's the Mike Bloomfield, it's the silver-faced two-rock.
Is it called a Bloomfield?
I think it might be something like that. And then a vertical 2x12. The whole thing is covered in the most beautiful burgundy suede. Doyle had quite a big pedal board.
Yeah.
Maybe a good 10 or a dozen pedals on it.
He's definitely a pedal man, isn't he?
And was playing a bit of slide and everything. Again, lovely man. And if you've seen my post on Facebook of my meeting Eric, the picture with Alan Darby and Eric Clapton and me was taken by Doyle. The reason I mention that is because, as a lifelong fan, I mean, the last thing you want to do when you're in that situation, if you come across the fanboy, you are toast.
Yeah.
So you don't. Yeah. So, and nor do you take any photographs inside the perimeter. I could have taken hundreds of photographs, amazing photographs. It's not appropriate.
Right. Not
appropriate. And certainly, if you want to get asked back, don't. Right?
So basically, I would have lasted about 5 minutes before I got booted.
You would have been toast. So as a result, I took maybe 25 photographs across the entire week.
What we should have done is kitted you out with a secret camera. In your time, I would have been, I would have been fine for the duration, but by the time I got back here, I would have been toast.
So anyway, so that was that, and then as I say, the rest of the gig, some amazing experiences. Alan played with Bonnie Raitt on the first night.
I mean, Bonnie Raitt is like, Raikuda is my #1 guy for a slide, but also my other favourite players are George Harrison and Bonnie Raitt. I love Bonnie Raitt's slide playing.
Brilliant.
And did she get the slide out? Did she?
Oh, she got the slide out. She played acoustic and electric.
Wow.
Because she played her own set. She sat in with Sheryl Crow on electric, and she sat in with Alan and Kev Moe on acoustic.
What amps was she? Because she's used Dumble amps in the past.
She has in the past. She isn't now. She's using something pretty regular in Fender, as far as I could see. But I couldn't tell which amp was whose, because at a festival like this, there's a lot of amps on stage.
Right.
But having said that, Sheryl Crow's band, I mean, you had Audley Freed. I don't know if you know Audley Freed. He's mainly known in America. Tall, skinny guy. God, what a player. Oh, magnificent. And as if that wasn't good enough, there was a guy called Peter Stroud playing slide and some lead, but mainly rhythm. Peter Stroud, he's Don Henley's guitarist.
Right.
I mean, the place was stiff with brilliance.
Yeah.
Absolutely stiff. Anyway, so Alan played with Bonnie. Bonnie, by the way, a couple of tips. First thing is her slide vibrato is very wide.
So it's wide and slow, yeah.
Wider than I watched you when you were doing her earlier.
Yeah.
Playing.
No.
Sorry, oops.
No.
Right, she's wider, and the second thing is that when she's rising up to a note, she's so late to get to that note. That's her style.
It almost never arrives.
Almost never arrives.
Yeah.
Fantastic, and she is the most charming and really charismatic woman. It's not just like meeting a person, and it's not because she's famous and she's a star. She has a certain radiance about her.
Right.
You
can see that when she's performing.
And she's absolutely lovely and she's delightful. Yeah. Keb is a fantastic blueser in slightly more the roots tradition.
Yes.
Very tall, very thin, and in incredible condition. When somebody told me how old he was.
Yeah, how old is he?
So I thought he was about 45.
Right.
He's just 70.
He's 70? Oh my God.
I mean, man.
I thought he was like in his 50s.
Is the guy preserved?
Yeah.
He is in wonderful condition, and he's charming. And I spent a lot of time with him and his wife.
He's one of my favourites. I love Kev Moe. Yeah, he was. I played a bit with a guy called Eric Bibb in the past, and Eric Bibb and Kev Moe were doing that acoustic blues thing, and they're the two kind of premier players.
But a few other high spots. On the first night, Peter Frampton did a set.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Well, I mean, we all know Peter Frampton's a long-standing and bloody good guitarist.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was that good. He wasn't flashy. He was so melodic and so tasteful and so controlled. His guitar playing was really, really of the top quality. He wasn't trying to impress anybody and ended up impressing everybody. He obviously played a number of his very famous songs over the audiences. They were particularly popular in America.
Did he play the custom?
That generation. Well, and the other thing was he played a number of guitars. He played a beautiful early 60s block neck 335. But when he brought on his late 50s 3 pickup Les Paul Custom, the one that he lost for 35 years in a plane crash, that was returned to him and restored, and that was quite emotional. And then Eric came on to play While My Guitar Gently Weeps with him, which was pretty good too.
Yeah,
so,
was that the first time they played together?
So Frampton introduced him and said, I've known Eric since the scene back in the 60s in London. We've never played together tonight. It's a dream come true. And it was emotional.
Because I know that Frampton and David Bowie, they were, I think, was it Frampton's dad was David Bowie's teacher. I think that's how it worked out. But they knew each other from as school kids, And
the thing I like about Frampton is Frampton, he's not really a blues player. He plays much more in the major than in the minor, in the Mixolydian. And so there's this kind of happiness and sweetness and positive tone about him.
I mean, Frampton knows his scales.
He does.
He knows his
scales.
scales.
I mean, he plays some jazz. Also, I mean, he's
Kenny Burrell, I know he's into Kenny Burrell.
And he's done some gypsies jazz and stuff like that as well. But when he's playing electric, he's more major than most of your heroes.
Yeah.
And that gives him a distinction.
Yeah.
So Frampton was fantastic. On the second night, for me, the standout performance. A guy I saw in London about 3 years ago, and he was good then, but my God, has he grown. Gary Clark Jr.
For a minute there, I thought you were about to say John Mayer.
Well, John Mayer was.
That's a bad joke.
He was on twice on the second day, and he was brilliant. And by the way, John Mayer brought his steel string singer, one of 11 in the world.
Amazing, yeah. And you touched it, didn't you? You actually put your hand on it.
You have to.
Can I? Which hand was that?
Touched it. So he had a steel string singer there. He was playing his PRS Silver Sky.
That horrible guitar.
A pewter one. And really interesting, little snob detour here. Right? I'm holding a 61 Strat here in Shoreline Gold. Okay? Many of my heroes will play a guitar like this. John Mayer plays early 60s Strats. Who are we talking about earlier? It's Stevie Ray. All these guys, and they get this fantastic sort of scooped out, bottomy, big sound. And John Mayer can really do that. When he was playing his PRS, it sounded fantastic, sounded really good. He could obviously play a treat, but it didn't have that early 60s Strat something thump about it. Okay? Still a bloody good guitar. I reckon it'll give a custom shop Strat of today serious run for its money. I really do. But if you're going snob, top grade snob, and if one of my favourites, or like Dan Pat Lansky, I'm going to go and see in Southampton on Friday. These guys who can really work a Strat, right? Something about that deep, rich, and it didn't quite have that, even through a steel string singer.
I mean, I tried one at the London Guitar Show last year, and the neck felt a little bit sticky, and it felt a bit plasticky. I was expecting something else, something more.
I have to say, I'm opining about something I've looked at lots, I've never touched one.
One thing I will say though, because I don't want to be negative about this, but it's got a nice neck profile. Like the oval, it's kind of a vintage sort of oval.
Yeah.
I thought that was nice. I
mean, maybe at the next guitar show I'll get my mitts on one. I should try it, But anyway, as a listener, listening to him, I did find myself, because obviously John Mayer, he became very famous at an early Crossroads. That was one of his first big gigs, and he played blues there on an old, I think it was a black Strat, old one, 61, 62, and the sound he was getting was incredible. And I was
Expecting that.
When John Mayer cuts loose, I kind of want to hear him playing a real old Strat. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But anyway, he's obviously got the endorsement from PRS, and he made it sound bloody wonderful. Everybody in the audience was saying what a great performance. So no flies on him. It's just I was being a piss pop, fuss pop.
Well, it's good to have an opinion, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, that's that. But and then obviously Eric did. Another one. Actually, the penultimate set was Vince Gill.
Vince Gill, what a player! Now I'm a fan of that guy.
Everybody backstage.
Yeah.
He's the guitarist. The guitarist's favourite.
Vince Gill can play the arse out of guitar.
So Vince Gill was joined by Joe Walsh.
Wow.
Right. Jerry Douglas. All on stage at once.
Slide.
Holding, standing up, playing it flat.
Yeah.
Right. And again, the sound that was coming off these guys, and Vince.
Jerry Douglas is with Alison Krauss, isn't he?
That's right, with Union Station.
Grand Union Station.
Vince also did us another favour. So by now I'm backstage setting up for Eric's set because we're next. And I had all the gear on the stage and I was waiting for the turntable to rotate and do my final crawly all over the stage bit in front of 10,000 people. And so I had a bit of downtime, got all the guitars tuned. I looked across and in this dim, across the backstage it's kind of dark blue light. You're not supposed to see anything because you don't want to shine out through the stage. And anyway, I looked at these racks of fold-out racks that you put guitars in. They're called boats in America. Right. In the boat, in Vince Gill's boat, there's a mandolin. There's what is pretty certainly a 52 Blackguard Teddy. There was something else that looked a bit of a mongrel guitar, and at the back, there was a Les Paul. Now.
Your Les Paul.
Well, if you've seen this program, you know that I own a 58 Les Paul, so I kind of know what I'm looking at. And I looked across, and it's dark, and you're easily fooled, right?
Yeah.
But I just looked at this and thought,
is it the real deal?
I'm looking at the kind of the curve of the edge, and I'm looking and thinking, I'm pretty sure that's real. And so because I'm allowed to, I'm backstage, I'm there. I walked over 12 feet towards it, looked at it.
You got the badge. You got the.
Access all areas, including Vince Gill's boat. His roadie is obviously standing very close. And I said, sir, excuse me, I'm a fellow technician, I'm teching for Alan Darby who's going. And they said, hi man, hi. So I must ask you the question, the guitar at the back of the boat there, I own a 58 myself, and I'm looking across the room and I think, it looks real to me. He said, you've got a good eye. It's real. And so it's a 59, so Vince Gill played this lovely flamey 59, sunburst Les Paul. He played it on stage in front of 10,000 people, fantastic. Joe Walsh, on the other hand, I don't know what his guitar was. It was black, sort of slightly Rickenbacker-ish.
Oh, right. I know, that's the, he's got a signature by, that company that does all the, they've designed the new Bigsby.
What, Duesenberg?
Duesenberg, yeah.
Was it
Duesenberg?
Duesenbergs are usually very ornate. This was very plain guitar.
Oh, right.
Really.
But he has got a signature.
Playing and a bit beat, his slide playing, wow, just incredible. And then Jerry Douglas, just no idea how somebody can play that fast with a metal bar. It's just inaccurate, And by the way, talking of that, we then, just before them, you'd obviously had Tedeschi trucks, so you'd have Derek Trucks doing that ridiculous kind of somewhere between American and Indian music he played. And boy, they were loud and they were dynamic.
Big band, aren't they? A lot of people.
Big band, horn section. Obviously, Susan Tedeschi, singing and playing guitar.
And the other guys singing. It says they still have the original singer that was with Derek Trucks, right?
No, the problem is, you see, by now I'm backstage, I can't see them.
Right.
I can only hear them, so I couldn't see them. But his slide playing was pretty spectacular, and they played. So Eric's band went on. Alan Darby stepped on after the first song and joined them for a couple of songs. Left the stage. John Mayer popped on and did a song, and then they finished the evening. And then all the guitarists. Really interesting watching from backstage. All these amps are paired up on sliding trolleys with mics. They're all mic'd up already on winding leads, and they literally 20 guitar amps go out on stage, and then the guitarists come out, and there's about 20 guitarists on stage.
So the guy that you were checking for, Alan,
yeah, what
was his rig? What did he? Because you put this rig together for him.
Yes, I did. We took
interesting stuff.
We took quite a complicated rig over there. We had some choices. So we had some overdrive special type amps, and we had some Trainwreck Express type amps, and we ended up using a pair of Trainwreck Express type amps.
Right. And these were made by, were they made by Clona? Or
we can't say.
He knows who he is. I know who he is.
We know who he is.
You know who he is.
But one doesn't talk about these things because it unfortunately, this world is quite litigious. So it's best not to talk about them. But anyway.
He knows what he's doing.
And a 501.
501.
And a 501. And actually a pedal board that I built for him because when he was booked to do the gig, it wasn't quite certain as to who he'd be sitting in with for how long and what material he would be required to cover.
Right.
So we put a pedal board together that covered all the bases. We ended up, of course, being able to cover many more bases than we needed to, but that's, we prepared for everything. And I built all the leads myself, set all the guitars up, set the rig up along with the maker of these amps. So
So if anyone needs a guitar tech, professional guitar tech, Bob is available at the moment, aren't you? He's available. So anybody like Roger Waters or Dave Gilmour, if he's coming back on tour, Bob's available.
I'm kind of not sure that I want to spend 2 years away from home, but if anybody was doing a kind of mini tour, took me away from my own bed and my family, maybe for a week or two, yeah, I think I could do that. But
right.
I'm not the youngest pencil in the case, and I think this is a pretty young guys.
You're doing pretty well.
It's a young guys game. But anyway, that was it. And then the other thing, was it takes hours to set these stages up. I've never seen anything disappear so fast. About 20 minutes and the stage was empty.
Yeah.
Because this is, these guys, they want to get home to their beds.
You were telling me how Eric Clapton rehearsed his band. That sounded interesting.
It's really, really nice. I mean, fantastic, huge rehearsal studio. Brilliant dead room, so no noise.
Mm-hmm.
Full, the front of house PA, because obviously we were doing line checks and he was setting all the mixes for the auditorium. But first of all, the band knows each other very well. They've been out playing in America, so it's not a rehearsal. It's just a polish.
And you've got Steve Gadd, haven't you, on the drums?
You've got Steve Gadd, you've got Nathan East on bass. Paul Carrack, charming man on Hammond. Chris Stainton, long-standing Chris Stainton on pianos.
Yeah.
They all know each other. They've been out on the road gigging, so there isn't a lot of work to do. But obviously they had to just weave guests like Alan into the set. But they'll play a couple of numbers, maybe just stop it and just adjust something a little bit, stop, then take a coffee break, then go back and play a couple of numbers. Compared to, my rehearsals are incompetent and frantic and grasped.
I'm sure they're not.
And this was just like 10 leagues different.
Sort of do a song, take a tea break, do another song.
Yeah,
nice, isn't it?
A couple of songs, but also the thing is everybody knows exactly what they're doing, and also if
it's just tweaking.
And if the band leader says, I think we should take that down there, or we should just maybe put that little thing in there. I mean, everybody is now so professional. It's just that you say it once, everybody's memorised.
Who is the band leader? Did Eric come across as a band leader, or do they have a musical director?
Eric's very much the leader.
Right. Because I always thought Nathan East had a bit of a say in.
Funnily enough, when I saw Clapton play at the Albert Hall, on stage I saw him deferring slightly to Nathan on sort of musical director's choice. I think you're probably right, but in the moment where I was, it was pretty hard to tell.
Right.
The other thing is, if you're a musical director in a band of that calibre, there's not a lot of directing going on, apart from how are we going to play this.
And they've been on tour for years.
Nobody's playing a bum note. Quite the reverse.
Yeah.
There's not. I'm sure I'm putting it down. I'm sure there's lots to do, but it doesn't look like to me like there's anything to do.
And Clapton's voice is sounding incredible, isn't it?
Wonderful, wonderful. The other guy, incidentally, who was also on the bill is Albert Lee. Albert Lee's even older.
Really?
Albert, he can still play the guitar. He's one of the greatest country guitarists in the world. But his real love these days is 50s rockabilly. That's what he likes playing.
That's cool, yeah.
And his voice is just getting better and better. It sounds like a young man singing.
Wow. Really
great.
What was Clapton's playing like? Sorry to keep coming back to Clapton, but...
Well, it's fantastic. He plays... if you've been doing what he does at the top of your game all your life, he plays with a facility. It doesn't really look as if he's moving or expending any effort. It's natural.
Because he had that problem a couple of years ago, didn't he?
There was no evidence of that at all. He was fluent and completely... It's just everything you'd expect and hope for and you're used to. This is fantastic.
Right.
In terms of watching a guitarist play, the two most interesting guitarists were Derek Trucks because he does something else, the accuracy of the slide. It's like a computer lathe on the end of his arm. It's so accurate. And obviously, you know, watching this hand of Jeff Beck.
Jeff Beck, yeah.
I mean, sorry, it's like that, isn't it?
He's doing like 5 things. Isn't he?
I think that's the hand position.
Right.
Right. Finger over there, finger on the volume, and then these things, and it's just insane. And he never looks at his guitar. This stuff comes out of it, and it. The other thing is, by the way, Clapton played one guitar. Right. As far as I could see, Jeff not only played one guitar, he actually only turned up with one guitar.
And Derek Trucks is the same. He pretty much plays one guitar.
Derek Trucks played 2 guitars.
All right.
But most of it was the SG. But he played 2 guitars. But both Eric and Jeff played one guitar. And you know, I worry about this all the time because I've got a room full of guitars. I play lots of guitars, and as a result, I'm not terribly good on any of them. If I played only one guitar, I'm too much of a tart to ever do it. If I played one guitar, how well would I know it? And these guys know their guitars as well as their own.
So there's a moral in there somewhere.
Stop being a bloody tart.
Well, I'm not saying anything, Bob. You know, I can't
Stop
say
promiscuous with guitars. But
I've just bought a Firebird myself, haven't I? So.
You have. You've got quite a few. But I think there's a very strong argument. I've got real
something to be said. Yeah, I mean, it was like Peter Green. You know, back in the day, he just had his Les Paul, didn't he? But you know,
he plays Strat a lot. He had a lovely old 50s Strat.
Who's this?
Peter Green.
Yeah, well, he also had a Ramirez classical. You know what I mean? And then he played Resonator. And then, you know, so you think these players they only played one, but no.
I mean, the Les Paul's the famous one.
Yeah, I mean, with Clapton, he's played every guitar, really, every Fender and Gibson guitar.
Although for many years it's been Strats.
It's been a Strat. But you know, sometimes he busts out the Birdland and the
ES5.
Yeah,
ES5.
Yeah,
all
so
kinds.
it's,
I mean, I remember once a long time ago he played Hyde Park for one of those Capital Radio gigs, Saturday afternoon job, and he came on. The first song he played was an Elmore James song on slide on the ES5. What a sound! I mean, that authentic, boxy Elmore James sound.
Yeah.
It was absolutely authentic. It was brilliant, and that's in a stadium.
Yeah,
wonderful,
fantastic.
Yeah.
So, so it's fantastic to have you back, Bob. We're going to be doing a lot more shows, aren't we, together?
I hope so.
And we're going to end this. Just thanks for coming back and telling us all about your trip. And we're going to end on something that you learnt whilst you were there.
Yeah.
Because we started it.
Let's play it and then
let's end how we started. Yeah.
Play it and talk about it. Yeah.
Okay. Do I start?
You start.
Okay.
Sorry about the rhythmic fluff there, guys, in the middle, but the reason we played that is just because I'd always wondered. That's how I worked it out for myself. Right. But I've seen people play it all different ways, and every time I see Clapton and his band play it, the hands aren't in the right place.
So how does Clapton do it?
So anyway,
so this is Doyle Bramhall.
So actually, I watched Doyle playing it,
right.
And it's obviously that way, so it's slightly different, but he plays it pretty much that way, so I was kind of vindicated that the way I've worked it out is the right way, and Doyle got it off Eric, so I think that's nearest horse's mouth I'm going to get.
Was this backstage when they were doing
this? Was actually in rehearsal. I was just watching it and just thinking, because I've seen people play some quite fancy ways up here that don't quite work, but it's down here you can get so
when you have it against this,
see, so you can get that, and then you can get all the phrasing right, and I think, and I've now pretty much got it from the horse's mouth that that's how it's done. So if you want to play Layla, you can do it like that, but then if you want to play Layla properly, you don't do the fluff on the timing. So, hey, thank you for watching, as always. we're going to be back quite soon. I'm hoping to unbox a couple more tasty collections quite soon, so I think you might be seeing me back for that quite shortly.
Fantastic. So it's goodbye from
Bob.
And it's goodbye from me. Take care. All the best.